So it seems we finally have some actual game-changing news for Tesla stock. I mean, as a long-term buy and hold investor in Tesla, this is exactly what I wanted to hear. But of course, we all know Wall Street may have a completely different idea as to what to do. So are they actually going to try to sabotage the entire thing? Well, let's get their exact thoughts on that. And of course, we'll debunk any of the myths that they happen to come out. And I'll give you guys the straight truth right here. Just make sure you like the video if you like getting the truth without the hype. Okay, now before we even get started, I know some folks are going to ask me down in the comments about the whole GameStop situation. I don't know what the heck's going on. Last time I checked this morning, we were in our group. People were going, we're having a lot of fun with it this morning. As it continued to rose, it was up, I don't know, 80-something% by the time it went, or by the time I'm pressing record here on this video. My thoughts are it's pure gambling. As a long-term buy and hold investor, there is nothing fundamentally there with that stock. Now, if you're into trading and you want to do these wild style trades with it, I mean, I guess, you know, more power to you, go for it. It hasn't worked the previous 20 times. And now all of a sudden some guy named Kitty something, I don't know. I apologize. I'm not knocking anybody. Like literally the guy's name is Kitty something or something Kitty. I'm not sure. Literally he just tweets something apparently after not being on social media for a little while. And all of a sudden GameStop goes through the roof. I don't understand it. I don't get it. Again, I'm also not in that world. So maybe there is a trade there. Again, I'm not a trader. I'm a long-term buy and hold investor. So I have no opinion on it. I have no thought on it outside of the fact, to me, outside looking in, there's nothing fundamentally there. So therefore it's just traders playing trader games. And if you want to engage in that, hey, just understand you are trading. You're not long-term buy and hold investing. And that's what this channel is all about, is long-term buy and hold investing. I'm sure there'll be plenty of YouTubers out there giving you all kinds of details and telling you this is what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen. I don't know, whatever the case is. Just know, for me, it's a trade. I have no interest in trading. Folks are gambling at that stage. You saw exactly how that went for us last time as retail investors. And it's not like a lot of things have changed to where now it's going to be different this time. And we're finally going to be able to stick it to Wall Street. Unfortunately, that's probably not going to be the case as well. Not that you can't make money on it, but again, it's trading, whole different ball game altogether. I have no interest in it. And that's all I got to say about it. All right, so back on track here. Let's get into the video that we're getting ready to watch right here, where we discuss exactly what I feel is one of the bigger game-changing things for Tesla that I've heard in a long time. And we'll get into the details of why I think that here as the video kind of plays out. And I've added another stock to the $250 portfolio challenge. So make sure you check out the pinned comment down there. We have just a few of the $15 spots left. Obviously we have full memberships are on sale as well. Probably going to end that here in the next week or two. So make sure you check out the pinned comment and see everything you get and see if a membership's right for you.
Let's talk some Tesla, though, because there's no shortage of information. The news flow keeps coming. Jenny Horn hosts the Next Gen with us. So this is fascinating because they're talking about this Supercharger network, but then they just let go of the guy who was running the Supercharger business.
They did. And so, yeah, we just saw that. I mean, the woman that was running its business, I believe, is Rebecca. I'm not sure how to pronounce her last name, but yes, she has been let go. And I also have a 4-day history lesson because today, at least, we're pacing to open the first time higher in 4 days for Tesla. So that would be seen as a win. So, I mean, hey, I think relatively low bar. Tesla did announce these plans, or Elon Musk specifically announced these plans via X on yesterday, I believe, saying that they're going to invest about $500 million in expanding their Supercharger network this year. Yeah, coming on the wake of the fact that while they're still expecting the Supercharger network to grow, it's going to be at a slower pace. And the department of their head is also kind of an interesting time in this situation. Although $500 million is no small amount. And hey, Elon Musk did say that they're not going to count their overall, this is just on sites and expansions, not counting operating costs, which are going to be much higher. But I think that right now we are looking.
Now, I understand the way she kind of reads through that. It sounds not as great as what I think that it is. The reason why I feel this is game-changing specifically is because it's something that is, let me back up a little bit here. When we think about autonomy and all the other things that have, FSD and everything else that has everybody excited. You guys know I'm on here saying, hey, I think a lot of that stuff, robotaxi, FSD, all that sort of stuff is years away, years into the future before we fully see kind of everything come to fruition. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's, short term, 3 years wouldn't surprise me. 10 years wouldn't surprise me either, because there's so much that goes into it. I got plenty of videos on that. You guys can catch the recap there. There's a whole lot that goes into that. The other piece of that pie is that can't happen. And that level of adoption can't happen if we don't have more superchargers built out. Now, I understand they're just expanding current networks and obviously adding some new sites as well. All of that is awesome and incredible. That right there has me excited because the number one reason I hear, outside of the fact some folks just don't want EVs or autonomy at all for various reasons, you guys can figure out what those are. But the number one complaint that I hear in my group all the time, anytime I talk to folks who have thought about a Tesla but didn't buy, whatever the case is throughout my travels everywhere, it's always been, well, the range anxiety thing. I'm not sure. What if I can't find a charger? What if, this, that, or the other? Even just upgrading the Supercharger network, making it faster and faster and faster. That right there. Those are all bigger picture concerns that for me limit the amount of folks, and I'm talking just specifically US here. I understand it's different in the rest of the world, but here in the US, those are all things that limit that TAM for now, regardless of whether FSD works or not, and FSD gets solved and it gets approved and everything else like that. That's not the number one. People aren't going, well, if he solves FSD, oh man, then I'm buying a Tesla. But until then, I'm not buying a Tesla. That's not what folks are saying. Most people are saying they're not buying a Tesla right now because there isn't a network out there, what they feel is a sufficient charging network to get rid of that range anxiety with a Tesla. So this right here solves, to me, the biggest headwind for Tesla at its current state and, basically in its growth curve there. You can solve FSD, you can, have robotaxi go through, you can have all these great things happen. And if you don't solve this problem right here, it's not going to bring the masses into the product the way we want them to come into the product. And so I think this right here, this is the reason why I say this. I'm much more excited about this than I am a lot of other things that have kind of come up for Tesla over the past 3 or 4 months or so.
Or again, like it feels like we're pre-earnings where we're like, hey, what is the next catalyst? What's the next reason to get people excited again? It hasn't been the case. And I know I was arguing yesterday that the layoffs, I think, are a bit like overblown in the way that it's portrayed by these headlines. But it's not exactly good sentiment. I mean, and even I can admit that, of course, when you lay off 40,000 employees, that is not good sentiment for a company. And I think that you see more and more of these posts on LinkedIn, and it's like, oof, it just doesn't paint a good PR picture for them.
Yeah, $500 million, especially at a time where companies have been really harshly judged for their spending. And there's been a little bit of a glut for EVs, partly because of some of the charging infrastructure. I feel like you could take either way, either side of this. You could go, all right, you need to build out the infrastructure. It's worth every penny to spend because that's what will get more people buying EVs. But at the same time, if the market's been very stringent about what companies are spending, it might be a short-term kind of hit to the stock. But I guess right now, it's okay.
That's exactly what we want as long-term buy and hold investors. We want something that long-term is essential to the business. Long-term absolutely is massively beneficial to Tesla. But in the short term, Wall Street goes, well, that means they're going to be spending a lot of money next quarter, and so therefore we're going to trade it down. That's exactly what we want to see. We want to see them taking that short-term view while we are over here playing the long game and going, this is exactly perfect. This is where he's basically giving you kind of the trader's look of things. I would agree. If I was a trader, that's what I would do. I'd beat the stock down because short-term, it means the numbers aren't going to be as good. However, long-term, as a long-term buy and hold investor, it gives me yet another opportunity to accumulate more shares. And remember, over the long run, that is what matters in the end. And I don't need, Kathy Wood's crazy bull case or any other YouTuber's crazy bull case to come true in order for my Tesla investment to be worth it in the future, especially when they're making decisions like this that absolutely help the long-term vision of Tesla and absolutely address some of the bigger problems. FSD does not address the biggest problem with Tesla stock right now and with folks wanting to buy a Tesla or not. But this absolutely addresses it. And I understand it takes time and all that good stuff for it to actually get built out and for the money to actually start seeing, start basically knocking down that objection per se. But it's a step in the right direction of actually addressing it. And 500 million is a large investment. That's not a small investment in that particular future.
I know that the bullish narrative has been so much focused on like the robo-taxis, FSD, autonomy was mentioned like 1,000 times. I actually think that they're charging the overall infrastructure is a little bit more interesting, at least near term.
Well, I think big term too.
Yeah.
Because isn't the reason why they're having trouble selling a lot of these things is because people go, well, I've got limitations outside the city.
I think that there's a huge like psychological barrier where like if you don't live in a place, where you have like ease of access that people say, well, I won't be able to people don't trust it yet. And I think that's something also like there's a major like industry, I'd say, overhang with that. I mean, it's not Tesla specific at all, but you have to have the mainstream consumer be able to say, I trust that I can charge my EV anywhere. Now, Tesla.
Yep, I won't disagree there. They basically reiterated exactly what I just said. You can go, I don't know, right around my house here. I mean, you can't go 2 blocks without hitting a gas station, sometimes on each corner of the road. It's pretty ridiculous. That is what we are accustomed to here in the States in terms of ease of access to that. And so, as opposed to in my particular area, there's probably 30 gas stations within a 5-mile radius, but 3 or 4 places you could charge an EV. That's a big difference there. And this is in a very nice area, very affluent area where there are more chargers than there are in other areas that are not as nice. And so that right there, again, is one of those deals. There's a lot of work to go. But we're also seeing these Wall Street folks finally coming around to, oh, this is actually a good thing. This is actually important. And it's actually a step in the right direction. So it shows you that Wall Street is coming around to the right things as well when we talk about Tesla.
Of course, is known for building out this North American charging standard. I think it's interesting. Installations are up about 19% this year through at least the end of March. But this is 4 times as many they have currently, 4 times as many pieces of equipment as the next nearest charging provider. So they're dominating. And we don't even talk about that part of their business that's going to ramp up in the end of this year into 25.
We saw Blink charging earnings last night, and the initial response was to just murder that stock because the numbers are so bad.
All right, you guys comment down below. I didn't see Blink's earnings at all. It's just not a stock that I follow. I remember when that was all the rage back in 2021. I just didn't like the margins with any of the charging companies that were out there. And I think that's where they're struggling at. And I think that's where Tesla's efficiency comes into play to where they are able to do more. And I just think, yeah, it's going to be Tesla's the one that's going to build out the network, at least here in the US for now. Maybe there's another player that comes in at some point in time, or maybe somebody buys one of those, or maybe they just figure it out. Maybe they get a government infusion of some sort in order to expand out rapidly and somehow be more profitable and have better charging stations than what Tesla has. But for now, at least, hey, that is the show. That is where it's at. It is Tesla. They are the leader. They are dominant there. And of course, that bodes well for us as long-term. Regardless of whether EVs come all the way here in the States, the facts are the rest of the world is going to EVs in the future there. And if they're able to own a huge slice of the pie out there, and as the US kind of lags and eventually starts to move there, at that stage, you'll kind of see to where as that network matures more and as people get more and more comfortable with EVs at that stage, that right there is another one of those deals to where Tesla already has the infrastructure there. And it's more revenue coming in, more profit to that bottom line there. Even if the margins aren't as great as other things, the facts are Tesla is not reliant upon that like a Blink is for 100% of the revenue and 100% of the profits. There's plenty of other places to where they can have a lower margin product if indeed it turns out to be a lower margin product for Tesla long term. And they're still just fine in terms of the business and in terms of the stock overall. Basically, I don't have all my eggs in one basket when it comes to Tesla. I understand you kind of do, but not like when I'm buying a company like Blink where all the eggs are all in the charging network basket only.
In this category, though, as far as China competition goes, going to be difficult for them to sell their cars here.
It is going to be difficult for them to sell their cars here. Yeah, and I mean, I think everything with China is significant, yes, and I think that is something that has unfortunately weighed all of the growth expectations, but I'm not really exactly sure how it's specific to Tesla. I just feel like that's something that we've seen with any company that has Tesla or China exposure right now is still feeling the pain from that.
We're going to get a little help because we're going to slap them with some tariffs. So at least Tesla won't have to worry about any Chinese EVs coming home to battle, at least right now. But in China, still, it's a problem for Tesla. All right, we'll see how Tesla trades today.
All right, so that last point right there, I don't like tariffs. Ever. Eventually Chinese EVs will make their way over here. It's just a matter of time. This game has been played out before in the past. Nothing new there. It'll come around. As we saw this, Chinese tariffs get passed on to us in the end as consumers. That's how it worked. Last time we had major tariffs, about what, 4, 5, 6 years ago, something like that, under the prior administration. Of course, now we're getting tariffs now on EVs coming across as well. This always gets passed on to us in the end. Those are just the facts with tariffs. And more importantly, I worry much more about China doing the retaliatory thing of, oh, cool, you want to tariff all of our stuff. Cool, we're going to play the same exact game with Tesla over here. If you want to buy a Tesla, there's going to be an additional charge for buying a Tesla in China versus if you buy Chinese automakers. That right there kind of works in, against Tesla per se, because, hey, if all of a sudden you're having an additional charge buying a Tesla and instead I can buy a BYD or a NIO or something like that, depending upon what, level or brand you're trying to buy there. Well, at that stage, it definitely makes it to where, the Chinese automakers have another leg up. So sure, it helps Tesla domestically here in terms of keeping the Chinese autos at bay. However, it's going to hurt China. However, it's going to hurt Tesla in regards to their China sales over there in China, which, you can go and look and see how much money is produced. Obviously, they can do some things with just everything Shanghai produces. The Shanghai factory produces at that stage if they wanted to go that far. That's kind of where Elon's relationship with the government there comes into play, and we'll see. I mean, sometimes these sort of things go well above You know, all the saber rattling and all the other garbage go well above any sort of business relationship or anything else like that. So that remains to be seen. I don't like that at all. But overall, this to me, I am far more excited about this investment and any future investments that are large like that Tesla makes in regards to the charging network than I am some of the other things that kind of gets us as retail crowd invested, because I understand this right here helps meet that bottom line goal and will actually help facilitate FSD and robotaxi and a lot of other things like that in the future. Those aren't happening at any sort of scale, even if they get approved, even if everybody loves it, if we don't have the charging network in place on there and addressing that base level problem that people tend to have here with Tesla. And remember, if you want to see if I would add Tesla to my portfolio, if I was starting from zero, just with $250 a week, would I add Tesla to that portfolio to eventually build it to six figures and beyond? Make sure you check out the pinned comment down there. Just the last handful of founder spots are left. Make sure you get yours before those expire. And of course, those that you guys that want a full membership, it's on sale right now. And again, that's getting ready to cut off shortly. So make sure you get your membership so that way you can take advantage of everything we have in there. We got 5 free courses. We got free coaching. You get access to the best 6, 7, and 8 figure Discord out there. We got a stock analyzer tool you can use for free. We have so much in there, guys. We're going to go on a live stream tonight here shortly after this video here releases with me. You can ask me anything you want. Jump into my DMs. It's just so much, guys. Check out the pinned comment and see if a membership's right for you. And click this video here if you want to see exactly what I'm buying in this market. And click here to see my exact plan for this market. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.